Accurexa is a biotechnology company focused on developing and commercializing novel neurological therapies based on their proprietary branch point device, which delivers therapeutics directly into specific regions of the brain. Joining us again here in our New York City studio is George Yu, Accurexa's president and CEO. George, welcome back here on New to the Street. It's a pleasure having you.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
Excellent. The last time we interviewed you, you were with Dr. Daniel Lim, the lead inventor of the branch point device at the University of San Francisco. Now, before you update us about your progress, please tell us about the company Accurexa for viewers who might not be familiar with it.
Sure. So the company was founded about 2 years ago with the purpose of developing new technologies that can make a significant impact in the healthcare sector. And I was introduced to Daniel Lim at UCSF as a neurosurgeon who developed a new device that could deliver therapeutics directly to the brain, which is a big issue in the medical field, because there's a blood-brain barrier surrounding the brain that protects your brain for good purposes from the rest of your body. So we licensed the technology from UCSF, University of California, San Francisco, and we continue to develop the device, submitted a 510K with the FDA in June this year, and then also looked into other indications where we could apply the device for and identified the treatment of brain tumors as a field that's has a high unmet need and where our device could make a significant impact potentially.
How does the device actually take the chemicals and put them into the brain? Because you said there's a barrier around the brain that protects it for good reason.
Exactly.
The brain.
Exactly.
How does your device get through that barrier?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about the story, how the device was invented. So Daniel Lim, he participated in a stem cells trial originally, and in the OR he was handed the stem cells, and then he was handed a normal syringe for 50 cents or $1, and he was supposed to inject it into the brain. So that was not really designed for that purpose. And he tried to look for something that's more appropriate and didn't find anything, so he basically said to himself, well then I'll invent something. Because with the straight syringe you have an issue that you have to inject multiple times. There are patients, Parkinson's patients in stem cell trials who received up to 16 penetration with a straight steel needle. And every time you do that, obviously, you can damage tissue, you can cause bleeding and stroke. So with the branch point device, you have only one penetration, and once you're in the brain, you can actually go out horizontally in the different directions. It's called a radial branching out of the delivery of your stem cells or any other types of drugs. So this way it's safer potentially, and it's also a way to avoid reflux. Because if you use a straight needle, you push it in, you actually see the infusion coming back to the outer surface of the brain. And with our branch point device, they've done studies, they didn't see any reflux.
So what is the status of branch point's FDA filing right now?
So we submitted to the FDA in June, which we announced for a press release, and since then it's in FDA review. Once we hear back from the FDA and if we have substantive news from the FDA, we'll have to announce that, obviously. But until then, it's being reviewed, and the typical review time for a 510K is about 90 days. That's what the FDA is targeting for. But there's always potential for delays if the FDA is requiring additional testing or additional data that they want to see, then it can always delay it.
Now, can you describe the patent that you recently licensed from Dr. Brem at Johns Hopkins University and how big it is for the market in the treatment of brain cancer?
Sure. I mean, we're very excited to have been able to license that patent from Dr. Brem. Let me tell a little about Dr. Brem. I mean, he is a world-renowned capacity in the treatment of brain tumors and also in neurosurgery in general. He runs the neurosurgery department at Johns Hopkins, one of the largest brain cancer treatments in the world. And he was the inventor of Gliadel, which is basically a local delivery wafer to deliver chemotherapy to treat brain cancer. So he's very familiar with local delivery, and that was the reason why we contacted him initially, because we wanted to develop something in that area. And if you go through the scientific papers, his name is very prominently on those papers, so that was the reason we contacted him. And what this license does to us is allows us to literally, own a drug combination that we can deliver with our device. And the two drugs that are covered by this patent are temozolomide and BCNU. Those are the two drugs that are approved for chemotherapy today for brain cancer.
So can you tell us about your recent $2.25 million equity financing and the process that led to this being closed?
Sure. I mean, we were happy to be able to close that in June as well, shortly after we filed a 510K. We had worked with Wainwright as our banker for a while, for a few months, and we had been talking to a number of interested investors. But I think at that point, when we filed the 510K, we demonstrated, to the public that, we really have a product that's in FDA review that allowed us to close that financing relatively quickly.
Now, you've been presenting the device around in the world of medicine, different communities. What has the general reaction been when they see the device?
Well, mostly positive. I mean, I think a lot of physicians or neurosurgeons, they acknowledge that there's an issue in terms of delivering therapeutics to the brain, and there are not a lot of adequate tools to do that. So every time we show that, it's almost self-explanatory for a lot of physicians about how this device can really make a difference and deliver these therapeutics accurately to the target areas.
Well, it sounds exciting. What are Accurexa's plans going forward? What milestones can we expect from the company in the near and distant future?
Well, the branch-point device, as I said, is in FDA review, so hopefully we'll hear back from the FDA, in the near term. We'd like to see it getting approved, obviously, so that would be, big news for the company. At the same time, we have our brain cancer program, ACX-41, ongoing. We're currently reformulating the 2 drugs that we licensed, and then, in the near term, we'd like to start a phase 1 as well, a phase 1 clinical trial.
Excellent. Well, I hope you come back to us here in New York and keep us updated on Accurexa's progress. And we thank you for joining us here in New York on New to the Street.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ken.
It's been our pleasure. If you want to learn more about Accurexa and their BranchPoint device, visit Accurexa.com or text ACXA to 38698.